What would you do if you couldn't fail? Welcome back to another episode. It's your boy Gabriel Rebel. Peace to all the rebels. Today, I want to talk to you all about failure, and not just failing in the sense of not being able to complete something or not doing something that you want to, but I want to take a different look at failure, and I want to look at what would you do if you couldn't fail? Okay, what would you do if you couldn't fail? The real power isn't in the answer, it's in what the question reveals about you. So if you couldn't fail, this opens up so many possibilities and opportunities for you just to think about. We don't have to get too caught up into actually executing these things and the details and everything about that. But let's just kind of have this thought experiment for a moment and think about what would you do if you couldn't fail? Would you go try to learn a new skill? Would you try to approach this person? Would you confront some of these issues in your workplace or with your family, whatever the case may be? What would you do? Just think about that for a moment. Ponder on that. What would that feel like to do or complete the goals or tasks that you want or you have thought about trying to achieve? What would you feel like? How would that look? What emotions are associated with completing these tasks if you knew you couldn't fail? Truth about fear. Fear of failure isn't protecting you, it's just limiting you. Most of you are afraid isn't real. Most of what you're afraid of isn't even real. Okay? Fear, false evidence appearing real. That's the acronym that I've learned for fear is false evidence appearing real. A lot of the times, when you're going on a first date or something, you think about like the worst stuff, or when you think about anything, you're doing presentation, what if I forget my lines? What if I misread this? Or with the first date example, what if I trip and fall? What if I spill this on my whatever the case may be? Or, in applying for a job, what if I blank there and they say no? A lot of the times these ideas that we have about failure, they only exist in our mind. Literally, like a lot of the things that we think about in regards to achieving goals and having success, the obstacles and the hurdles, yes, they come, but a lot of the times there's majority of these ideas are just that, only ideas. They never actually manifest in reality. So the truth about fear is that it's false evidence appearing real. We have to let go of these false ideas and allow ourselves to believe and put in new ideas that are associated with success. What if this went right? What if the person I'm approaching actually likes me? What if this interview, they don't even want to ask me too many questions, they hire me on the spot? What if while I'm presenting this project in front of my peers or students or coworkers, that everyone receives it well and they give me great feedback, positive feedback, and I'm just feeling gratitude because I did such a good job and they can appreciate that. They appreciate my work. We have to replace those negative fears and thoughts and ideas with positive thoughts and ideas because, like I said, oftentimes we only think about worst case scenario. 9 times out of 10, we've already thought about the worst case scenario whenever we do anything. That's just our nature for survival. So when we're thinking about achieving things, let's put in ideas of success because we've already calculated for the failure. So now that's already in the back of our mind. We could just throw that to the back and we can start to cultivate these new ideas on success. Like, well, what if this happens? What if this goes good? I know that's kind of scary in itself when you want to think about if things go right because you're afraid. You have that fear of it like not happening. Well, I don't want to get too comfortable in thinking about these good things because what if it doesn't happen? Listen, we got to let go of that. Just let go of that because when you let go of that and you allow yourself to feel these ideas of success and these emotions and feelings associated with completing your goals and tasks, it starts to radiate and it starts to allow you to vibrate at a higher frequency. When I mean by radiate, I mean it starts to like your aura starts to radiate these positive emotions, this positive frequency. And when you're doing it from a lack or a fear, it starts to radiate in a different way to where you're going to attract these negative ideas where you're only thinking about the negative thoughts. So that's what happens, or that's what you can only see. Sometimes these negative thoughts we're not attracting them. It's just that our vision is only fixed on these ideas of negativity, that's that only thing that we see, when in actual reality there's a lot more positive ideas and positive feedback and positivity associated with the tasks that we're completing, but we're so focused on the negative thoughts in our mind that we don't even have the awareness to see them. So when we focus on positive ideas, positive feedback, when you're doing these thought experiments of just thinking about what if everything goes right, you're opening your awareness to these ideas of things going right, and you'll be able to see them when they were there the whole time. Okay? The real question, instead of asking what you do if you couldn't fail, ask yourself, what am I willing to fail at? Okay, what are you willing to fail at? What would you do? What would you try to do and fail at it? Because there's some things that's not worth trying to fail at, and that's only up to you to decide what that is. I can't say for sure what is a thing that's not worth failing at. Only you could decide what you want to fail at and what you'd be willing to fail at. But you have to understand that you have to take a risk. There are risks associated with achieving goals, with um striving for success. There's definitely risks associated. So what are you willing to fail at? What am I willing to fail at? Ask yourself that. All right, I really enjoy being creative. Whatever your creative pursuit is, maybe photography, it may be painting, it may be drawing, it may be installations, it may be music, it may be fashion, whatever the case may be, would you be willing to fail at that? And if so, what would the worst case scenario be? Again, we often have these worst case scenarios in our mind, but you have to have something that you'd be willing to fail at. So instead of asking what you do if you couldn't fail, ask yourself, what am I willing to fail at? Because that question will show you what it is that you truly want, what it is that you truly desire, because that's the first step into conquering these fears, is understanding what you want and what you truly want. And then once you figure out what you want and what you're willing to fail at, you understand, like, look, I'm willing to try this regardless of the outcome. And that is something that you are meant to do, you're destined to do, your purpose, your passion, one of these things, and sometimes all of those things. So what am I willing to fail at? Ask yourself that, in addition to what would you do if you couldn't fail? Okay, it's like a two-tiered process here. What would I do if I couldn't fail? Okay. And then once you get past that, you have all these ideas like, oh, I might try this, I might try that, I might try that. Then you might go on to say, well, what am I willing to do? What am I willing to fail at? So all those of that list that you have of what would you do if you couldn't fail, one of those things is worthy of what am I willing to fail at? Okay. Fear versus reality. I kind of spoke on this already in the second slide, I believe. Yeah, the second slide. So when you're afraid of failing, you're not afraid of the action itself. You're afraid of what that failure means about you. So we get these ideas that when you fail, it's going to reflect on you in a negative way. Okay, like, oh, I'm dumb. Oh, I'm not strong. Oh, I have bad social skills, whatever the case may be. When you're afraid of failing, you're not afraid of the action itself. You're afraid of what failure means about you. So we associate these ideas with failure. Now, no one is putting these ideas on us. We're bringing them upon ourselves. We're giving them meaning. And instead of saying, "Oh, I failed. I'm dumb," we could reassign meaning to this. We could say, oh, I failed, but you know what? I got wisdom from that. I learned from that. I have new information that I can use to help me achieve my next goal or to help me move forward. So when you're afraid of failing, it's not the action itself. Sometimes there's a piece of the actions of the, if it's danger involved, risk involved physically, then yes. Sometimes it's the action of jumping out the plane or swimming or scuba diving, whatever the case may be, jumping off the ledge or the what's it called, ledge jumping, ledge diving. Um, I never did it, so I can't tell you exactly what it is, but there is some fear in the action. But on a lot of these other non-physical risk adverse tasks, we're just afraid of what the failure looks like upon us. And the one thing that I think in my head a lot of the times is when you trip and fall, a lot of us, the first thing we do is we trip, we fall, we look around. We look around because really, if we just trip and feel no one was there, we might get up and laugh and be like, "Oh, dang, man, I'm clumsy." Unless we really busted our ass and we hurt ourselves, scraped our knee or something like that. But we look around because we're worried about what other people think. And me personally, I hate when people be like, "Oh, I don't care what nobody thinks of me." I mean, that is a good place to be at. When you're just so aware, you have the self concept of yourself where it doesn't matter what other people think of you, which is great. But I do believe that it's just in our human nature to kind of take in consideration what people would think of us and do it in a way where it wouldn't change our personality, where it wouldn't change who we are, but just to be being considerate, in my opinion, is oftentimes considering what other people think of you, or how other people might feel. So to bring it all together, when we trip and fall, we look around to see what other people will say or other people seen because we're afraid of being embarrassed, the feeling of embarrassment. That's the same thing when it comes about failure. When it's not the action, you're afraid of what the failure means about you. So when you trip, what that means about you, you're clumsy. It makes you embarrassed. When you fail at trying something, what does that mean about you? It could mean you're dumb. Other people are going to think you're dumb. That's not the case. Let's assign new meanings to that because the failure means more about you. It says more about you positively. It says you're willing to take risks. It says you're willing to try, and it says that you won't give up. Okay, y'all. I have a couple more slides, but I'm gonna stop there for now. Appreciate you all. Thank you for listening. Thank you for tapping in. Peace to all the rebels. Fear versus reality. That's where we're leaving off. Let's recap real quick, actually, before I dip out. What would you do if you couldn't fail? The real power isn't in the answer, it's in what the question reveals about you, okay? The truth about fear of failure isn't protecting you, it's limiting you. Most of what you're afraid of isn't even real. The real question, instead of asking what you do if you couldn't fail, ask yourself, what am I willing to fail at? Fear versus reality. When you're afraid of failing, you're not afraid of the action itself. You're afraid of what the failure means about you, okay? Take that in, meditate on that. Glad I could share this with y'all. I hope y'all like these presentations. I'll be back with more to finish out this series. Hey, you already know the motto, y'all. You know my slogan. I love you all. And of course, peace to all the rebels.